Okay, we are live. Hello and welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Carolina Jimenez. I am the founder of Neuro and Cara PR. And my fabulous co pilot, you can see here, is the one and only Seamus Hart, the heart of Neuro and Cara PR.
Oh,
so,
thanks.
so today, further from some discussions that we've had during inside Neuro we talked about being able to provide our participants with resources that help them along their journey to understanding themselves and understanding their peers when they are looking at the prospect of dating. Um, Originally, when we started Neuro it was with the intention of creating safe spaces so that our friends in our community on the spectrum could find a safe space where they could feel free and safe to express themselves, arrive as themselves, not have to mask, and build their social skills and capacity to explore interpersonal relationships. And that always needed to start on a basis of trust, understanding, and getting to know each other. So while we originally started with the intention of putting people in a room where they could potentially explore dating, we realized that we needed to take a step back and build those foundations first. Now that we are approaching our very first birthday at Neuro, we are now really working with our participants at that next level of their social skills. And one of those things is really understanding dating signals. And so today, Seamus is going to run us through what dating signals look like for our different neurotypes. As
Mhm.
most of us are aware, being a neurotypical person and the way that we do dating, there's so much hidden context and there's game playing and roles and like these undiscussed dynamics that you don't want to reply too quick and all this other stuff. And it's very confusing for someone who's neurotypical. And therefore, you can only imagine the complexity that that then provides for someone who is not neurotypical. So today, this session is purely for our neurodivergent community members, and it's all about empowering you to be able to make decisions based on information and understanding of what signals people may or may not be giving you as a neurodivergent person who is giving off the signals as well as a neurodivergent who would be receiving the signals. So without further ado, Seamus Hart, thank you so much as always for joining us as not only a UX designer, but as one of our neurodivergent community members and one of our committee members as well.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, thanks. It's actually kind of a good one because it's I forgot how much I've actually written about this. So I was actually going through a lot of the content that I've produced for university and a few other places, and just kind of compressed it down. So it's really looking at dating signals for neurodivergent people, and I thought. Okay, I thought I'd start with some really interesting stuff. So I'm taking it from two sides. That there's first of all there's the dating side where it's like the theoretical. So I've gone to a dating coach in the past. I've also gone to a psychologist. I've also I've studied quite a fair bit in peer-reviewed and stuff through my coursework. So like I'm taking it from a very different point of view. One of the biggest myths, especially with autism, is that we do not want partners and we want to be alone. That's one of the biggest myths that we need to challenge. The other key thing is that a lot of people, and even if you look in the peer-reviewed area, there's a belief that either we don't have the skills or don't have the desire for companionship, which is actually really wrong. If you think about it, we're social animals. Our skill sets are very spiky. So some things that we do are very good and some things are terrible. It works in the workplace. It also works within the dating arena as well, where a lot of people like myself who are dating, we've got the desire. It's just the difficulty is a hell of a lot higher, and also the challenges of actually getting through the discriminatory process is a lot harder as well. And a lot of these barriers can be through sensory, social skills, interests, even perception. And the problem is that we're often very slow burn and very what would you call it? Very open and honest, that's not how the modern dating industry kind of works. And it's a lot of the challenges. And I thought also, I've been in a relationship with Joe for just over 4 years. I come from a very different perspective, and part of it is the best way of looking at it is we often hide a lot of the signals. So from a core point of view, the way we date, either neurotypical or neurodivergent, has exactly the same top level. However, the way it's interpreted is very different. We don't look at the mind reading. We don't look at the tests. We also don't look at the games. We often look at behavioral patterns, which is really problematic in a lot of dating, especially when, like, a really good example of this, neurotypical dating tends to reward hinting and deception. We're terrible at that. Neurodivergent dating often looks at clarity, honesty, special interest. So it's completely the opposite. So our rules are very, very different. So it's even things like words, language, intention is the opposite, and we might take it as literal. So a really good example of it is when I went to a dating coach years ago. There was this one woman I went out with on a date, and the feedback to the dating coach was, she was like, "Oh, that's nice. I don't really want to do anything." Okay, so I've taken that at face level. And the dating coach said to me, no, she actually meant that as like a test. She wants you to put in effort to come back. And I said, well, that makes no sense. So she said to me that I'm not interested, that she's not interested. And she said to you, which was the dating coach, that she's interested. Logically, only one statement can be true. So which one? So like a lot of it's perception based. So what I said to the dating coach, I said, you're taking what she's saying as truth. I'm taking what she's saying as truth. So which one is it? It can't be both. And this is one of the huge problems with neurodivergent dating, especially with autism, is that we take it, what you're saying, we're taking it as truth. We're not looking at intention based. We're just out there. The other problem is with ADHD dating, and there's a lot of studies around this, is that the cues. So a lot of the times, like ADHD's, chasing the dopamine, which means that they get really, really intense. They find someone and they're like, oh my God, this is my new special interest. I'm getting so much dopamine. How that's actually interpreted from a dating point of view is love bombing. So it looks at it as a toxic trait. Yeah, but when you put two ADHD people together dating, they have a great time. it usually burns really fast, and then they get to an equilibrium where they work out, well, actually, how do they want to do it? And it also means that a lot of the time, especially when you're talking about those duality of behaviors and desires, it means that inadvertently neurodivergent people are inadvertently at a higher grade of risk in dating. There's a French study that stated out of 255 autistic females interviewed, 253 of them had been assaulted. And it's purely because when you add masking and you add difference in communication style, it places them at a huge risk. It's part of the reason why I say you need to look at the behaviors of people, and you also need that level of help with actually going through the dating process. And it's a lot of the things is that the signals that a neurodivergent person sees as a green light is not what a neurotypical person sees as a green light. So a lot of the times, and this is why I think mixed relationships with neurotypical and neurodivergent is really problematic. It's not saying it cannot work, but the neurotypical person has to have some anchoring to neurodivergent behavior. So either by family members who are neurodivergent, they've practiced in the area, so they've come from, let's say, a psychology or some sort of clinical or therapy background, or they have a lot of connection to the thing, to the community. Otherwise, they're just not going to interpret the behavior in the right way, and it makes it hard for both neurotypes. It's not saying that it doesn't work; it just says it makes it really hard. So, if you think about it, it pulls into the next thing. So, two very, very different neurotypes. So on one side, we've got, I love this image, by the way, the coffee, like instant and normal coffee, the beans, exactly the same thing, exactly the same coffee, but how it's prepared is very different. Which means that you've got to put that into context, especially when you're talking about neurodivergency and not only the divergent behavior, but also how they actually do. Like, they're two very different things. One's generalized. It's not that they're better than others. It's very different use in very different context. So I can't get Nespresso, like the Blend 43, put it into a portafilter on an expensive machine and get like an espresso. It just doesn't work. Likewise, I can't just get some coffee grinder, put it into a coffee cup and expect it to be great. They both have very different environments where they work in, and dating from a neurodivergent sense, exactly the same thing. It's like you've got to look at the environmental context. So a lot of the things that we look at green signals, we really have to look at behaviors, and this goes for both neurotypes. And this is the stuff that even my dating coach was talking about, is you've got to look at consistency. You've also got to look at questions and if they're understanding details, and you've also got to look at the sensory and boundary needs and the communication style. So if one of the big green flags is if they understand boundaries and understand communication style, that is a huge green light, and it goes both ways. And I look at it also because specifically neurodivergent women are at a huge, not disadvantage, but they're very sensitive to being exploited or put into a bad position. And part of that is to do with masking. So undiagnosed, really, really sensitive. And part of it as well, it's around, like, when you think about masking, is that they're playing a part, and it was part of the reason that I struggled in dating as well, is the masking, because you're playing a role and you're ignoring your boundaries. And the other person thinks, oh, that's okay. It's part of the reason why if you're neurodivergent and you need to date, you need someone who understands explicit communication and doesn't look at it as, a bad thing. Like the directness isn't a bad thing. It's like it's being purely honest. And I've had quite a few experiences like that. It's really, and it goes across for both neurotypes when you think about it, like neurotypical and neurodivergent. That the big thing is clarity, the care, and the consistency, and then understanding boundaries, which the modern dating environment's not really great at. It's all just an act and peacocking and masking and doing whatever. Not much fun. And like the problem is, and even Joe and I have spoken about it, we've had some really funny conversations about it. So one of the funniest we spoke about is like how people are conditioned through behavior. So one of the trickiest things that when Joe and I were dating was what I would say, there was no deception behind it. So if I said something, I didn't mean something else. So one of the things when we first started going out, which goes into interest and noise, which is a good one. So one of the interesting ones Joe and I had, which we laugh about it now, is understanding what's being said. So I had to work in the city and I got this awesome hotel room and I got cake and I also got, it had an awesome coffee machine in there and Joe loves coffee. And I'm like, after this event, I'm like, I'll show you my hotel room and I've got cake. Now, neurotypicals inviting someone up to their hotel room has a completely different context to someone who's autistic. Mine's a literal statement. It's like, I've got a coffee machine and cake. So Joe said no, and I'm sitting up in the hotel room with my coffee and 3 pieces of cake going, I don't think Joe really likes coffee or cake that much.
That's so cute.
And I was thinking maybe next time, instead of surprising her with cake, I ask her what type of cake that she likes.
So sweet.
But this is a common thing with autistic people dating, that the language barrier is kind of very different. It's like you've got the language at the top, the words at the top, and the meaning down the bottom. I didn't know that it was code for something else. Didn't even enter my head. I'm just like, I got this awesome upgrade at the 4 points because I've got the membership. So they didn't just like give me an awesome room. They like gave me this huge upgrade, and it was like, awesome coffee machine and like absolutely. And I thought I was so excited, and it's like, that's not how it was interpreted. We laugh about it now because she's like, that would have been so funny. You're upstairs eating cake going, I wonder why Joe doesn't like cake. And she's thinking that there was no cake.
Yeah.
Right. So it's one of the things, and it's like, it's one of the things that you've got to put into it. It's like, is this interest or noise? You've got to look at the preciseness of what are they saying? Does it match the behavior? So one of the key things that I've seen in research is behavior meeting what their words are saying. And even the dating coach I went to, and you've also got to look at as well, and this is a really interesting one with ADHD, especially around object permanence. So that a lot of the times we will forget. If it's not in front of us, we kind of forget, and we don't have the same sort of missing because of the way attention works with ADHD. So things like, it's not like I had a friend who was neurotypical dating a girl who was ADHD. They've been together for a very, very long time. And originally he thought she was only interested for certain types of attention, and it wasn't. it was literally, she went through burnout and huge energy, need to recharge, and then she forgot about things and then got back to it later. It wasn't anything to do with nefarious. It was just to do with how she functioned as a neurotype, and how that's actually interpreted is very different. And it's like, when he was describing the behavior, I'm like, that sounds like she's ADHD. He ended up asking her, and she's like, yeah, I'm ADHD. How did you know? And that was a huge turning point. They've been together for, I think, about 7 or 8 years now. But it's the same thing. It's looking at a lot of the actions, watching what they do and understanding the kind of the behavior, if it's okay, being able to make those hard kind of conversations. Neurodivergent people prefer that up front. Neurotypical don't, which you've got an incompatibility from the start. So a lot of it's like putting boundaries in and putting information, and you got to think of like this. A lot of it's attention based. And so it's really hard. It's like a yellow flag. It's really hard to actually work out if it's like attention or whatever. So part of it, the role is like, for yourself, is decoding if the interest is true. And that, I mean, dating is very discriminatory by nature. And when you think about it, it's like, it's not particularly a bad or a good thing. It's just, part of the process of getting those people out. So, it shouldn't be ambiguous. Like, the best advice my dating coach gave me, and she goes, I tell this to people who are neurodivergent, LGBTQ, straight, whatever. If you're meeting someone and the dating process is confusing, then that should be your definitive answer. It shouldn't be confusing. Which goes on to the next thing, is the red signals. So one of the really common ones, especially I've experienced this, other people who are on the spectrum have faced this. I know a ton of other neurodivergent people who have done similar, is that there's also, with neurodivergent people, there's a disproportionate amount of people actually like attracted and attracting really toxic people. So, there's a couple of good red signs about it. There's part of it is that a lot of it's pressure to do something that is not at the pace that you want to do. And we're not talking about intimacy or anything like that. It's like they're really, really pressuring you to do things. They punish for clarity. They withhold, or they give you the silent treatment. They use confusion. One of the big things is this, especially, and even Gottman writes about this, as one of the key pillars of the 4 horsemen of bad relationships is confusion. If confusion is in there, it means that your communication models are not connecting properly. So you need to talk. The other one as well that's really common with autistic people, and this is just not men, it's women as well, it's they often mock diagnosis needs, or really question what you need to do for boundaries and that. So it's like, it's one of those things that you shouldn't have to really look at that. And really probably one of the best things I've read out of Big Bird is confusion isn't chemistry. Like, a lot of people's like mindsets are actually conditioned to confusion and chaos within a relationship, that it means chemistry, which means they think like the boring people are not the good ones. If it's boring, it means it's stable, and that's a much more stable base for a relationship than the chaos and confusion. So, I mean, that's why I always put the confusion is not chemistry at the bottom. It's one of those big ones. best advice I can give for anyone with who's neurodivergent is put it in writing, create a script. Think of it as the best advice that I was given by a dating coach is, if you want a partner, write it down, because there's no way you can actually define what you want if it's not in it, if you don't have some sort of a plan. It's like, think of it like this: building a house. You wouldn't just buy bricks and shit and just like build. You have a plan. Same thing with a relationship. Like, yeah, it's like asking a lot of the key questions and getting clarity. It's also putting together scripts to help you find that person and actually to weed out some of those hard questions that I've put in there. And these are the usual questions that I kind of get, is like missing the flirting clues. Are they being direct? Are they just being nice? Have I been friend zoned? Is it something more? A really, really key one with ADHD and autistic women, and I've had so many over the years message me about. It's on the dating platforms and guys cheating. Like, they'll get a couple of months into it and realize that the person they've gone out with is actually married or in a relationship. And it's very, very common. So it's asking those right questions and trying to be able to filter out the noise and the people who are wasting your time. And even my psychologist said a relationship should be the easiest damn thing you've ever done. Like, if you're in a relationship, it should be really easy. Everything outside should be hard.
Yeah.
That's probably the best advice that I've got. Yeah. What do you think?
No, I love that. I think it is really valuable to kind of, especially if you're just new to the pardon me, to the idea of dating, which I think a lot of our participants can feel like they're new to it. You know, they might have toyed with the idea or perhaps had a close encounter, but not quite gone all the way in. I think it is good. And I know for me, it helps me with my anxiety levels whenever I can be prepared for something. So, you know, having those sort of scripts, just a couple of, and it doesn't have to be like a full manuscript, but like just key points about some things that you could talk about, and you know, just so that you don't get that sort of flight or freeze during the conversation, so you can kind of preempt what the conversation might be or what you might say if they ask you this. I know for myself, I'm online dating, and I self-diagnosed ADHD, but I know that like I'm very forward and just sort of like, right, well, I'm a solo parent and I'm looking for X, Y, and Z. And for some people, like that's really forward and like, oh God, I just met you. I don't know if I want to talk about kids and marriage right now. Like, you know, but I'm doing that weeding out kind of thing, and just going, well, if they're not things that you're interested in, then just like, let's just not even waste each other's time. And that's really brutal and blunt way of doing it.
No, it's really, no, it's really, you have to look at it like this, and you've got to look at it as well. And another piece of advice that I was given is that a lot of people, so think of it like this, and this is, there's a stack of research on this as well. The skills for being successful in dating is not the same as the skills for being a successful partner in a relationship. They're completely the opposite.
Absolutely.
And one of the big learnings out of it is that people who are very good at dating, as in they get a lot of dates and a lot of churn, they're terrible at partners, because what they've done is that they've wired their brain for that little dopamine hit, and they've also wired their attachment style for that quick release. So they're never going to be good partners. So for me, like a warning flag is someone who's very good at dating is often the worst possible partner you can think of, and which is kind of opposite to especially like neurodivergent people, is that we're more wired for those deep connections. We're also wired for a level of clarity and whatever. And we're often, because we're not good at the dating part, we're often disqualified. And it's part of the reason is that you need to do a couple of dates with people to work it out, especially if it's neurodivergent. And you've got to look at it like this. You've got to look at like the dating part of it as discriminatory for a very good reason. Is that the worst thing you can do is pick the wrong partner. They're going to do a lot more damage to you long term than picking the right one. So you're better off, like, you know, being clear about what you want. Communication's absolutely key, and those red flags magnify over time. And it's like it's really, clarity is a consent tool. Like, you're confused, it's like it's not the right place.
Absolutely.
And it's also as well, and this is kind of one of the other key things, and which a lot of people don't look into, is like the regulation side. So, you know, time box it, you know, do some research. One of the best pieces of information a dating coach gave me, and I'm going to save everyone a shitload of money on this, is get friendly with a cafe and get friendly with a restaurant. And the thing is that a lot of restaurants and a lot of cafes see a lot of dates. They're casual observers, and they pretty much can tell you which is going to work and which isn't. And so if you're friendly with the barista and you take a potential date there, they can help vet you for them, which is amazing if you're not 100% sure what to look for. So like taking them to a restaurant where you're friendly with the waiter, and they go, "Oh my God, that person was a nightmare." Or, "Oh my God, that's a good one. Yeah, you should. You go. You should do a lot more with that person."
I love that idea, because it's also a lot safer as well.
It is.
So, you know, in a perfect world, the goal for Neuro Awesome was to create that safe space, to build that initial foundation of trust and understanding. But when you're ready to take that into the big wide world and into your community, away from the group, it's probably the safest way that you can actually really explore that relationship on your own terms, being somewhere where as you said, the restaurant, the cafe, the staff, they know you, and they can keep an eye out for you, especially if you are, neurodivergent and dating someone who's not, or the other way around. I think, safety is key, and especially for women as well. But also for men, if you're a young man and you're looking at dating someone who is not on the spectrum, or perhaps someone else who is on the spectrum, there is still that potential that you might see something in a way that you think, oh, they were sort of dismissive of me, or something to that effect. But then potentially they might be able to observe from the outside and say, well, actually, no, they seemed like they were very, forthcoming, and they were paying attention, because we can sometimes accidentally, block ourselves from noticing certain things because we're nervous or other reasons.
Or you're emotionally reasoning, and that's another huge problem. And that the best thing is about knowing, like, a place like that, it makes it a lot safer for everyone. Even the person coming out and they've got someone who who kind of knows the place well, it's actually making it very safe for them.
Yeah.
Because it works both ways. You're thinking, oh, it's just putting the advantage to the person who's knows the restaurant. It's like, no, it's actually both ways.
Yeah.
Because you're also creating something that lowers a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
So, like from both sides. So you're going to get a much more honest view of it. And also it means that, like, you know, both can pick up something very, very simple, like if they're solid or not. And, you know, it's really the environmental aspect is key. And this is just not a neurodivergent thing. It's also looking like, I mean, for the neurodivergency, you want something that's predictable, sensory, somewhere where you can actually eat the food. Also somewhere that's, you know, you can kind of time box it, you know how to get there really easy. So it means that you're arriving in the best possible way, and you're also getting the support.
Yeah.
And that also so it's like an accommodation. It also means that if you go on another date and that person suggests a place, they're probably going to suggest somewhere where you're more likely to fit in. So it's also another thing that's going to lower the pressure. So they'll get a very good idea of how you are in that environment, and it goes both ways, because also it means that if someone goes there and that's like really quiet and restaurant, they're a party type, you've already got an idea of compatibility. Or if it's the food type as well. Oh no, I like spicy stuff. This person likes really bland stuff. That's, you know, food's a huge thing. Like food compatibility, absolutely massive thing in dating that people don't talk about, and super critical for neurodivergent, because you're also talking about gut issues as well, which you don't look at. Look at it like this. So when you're dating, take the part of the emotions out of it. A lot of it is data points. So a lot of it, it's like if the clarity isn't there, if they don't respect the downtime, or if they don't understand your needs, you know, it's never going to work. Doesn't matter how you feel, it's never going to work. You've got to look at like compatibility, not just from a feeling point of view. You've actually got to look at compatibility from a lifestyle perspective.
Yeah.
So if you're dating someone who you really like and they love parties and you can't stand the sound, that's never going to work. And likewise, it's like if they have completely different interests to you, it's never going to work either. Or if they're really social and you're not, or if you're into Warhammer 40K and they're into fine dining, never going to work. You've got to look at the whole ecosystem. Otherwise, you're just going to be going down a really incompatible route. It's not saying that, you know, you have to have 100% compatibility on everything. There are differences even with Joe and I, what we like and what we don't like, but the core 80% there, it's like the advice from my psychologist and dating coach was saying, go for the 60 to 80%.
Yeah.
So you want someone, so 100% of what you want, never going to happen, ever.
Yeah.
Never.
You got to be realistic.
Not going to happen. And that's boring. That even Gottman said it's boring, because you still need a partner that's going to challenge you.
Yeah.
Look for that 60 to 80%. So of your list of 10 things, if they tick 6 to 8 of them, that's a really good starting point. It means that you've got high level of compatibility, and that 20% gives you and them the downtime, because you do need time apart. And a lot of people don't understand that. The other danger is when you're getting above 80% of everything that you want on the list, you're also talking about connection issues, like a round of what's it called again?
Codependency.
Codependency, that's it. And you don't want a codependent relationship, because if that person leaves, you're so dependent on that. So you still need your own sense of self and identity within the relationship. So yeah, that's why my psychologist like really pointed it out, and he goes, yeah, these are the best advice. Go for that 60 to 80% person. And also they're going to introduce you to things that you may not have thought about. And like even Jo and I have that as well. Like she was never a fan of going to art galleries or those type of events. And I've taken her to quite a few, and she's really enjoyed it. It's because she hasn't gone with the right person who understands the sensory as well.
Yeah.
Or introduced her to different types of food or places where she wouldn't have usually gone. So it's a benefit for you to do that. And especially with autistic people like myself who get very tunnel visioned, it means that you can like kind of expand out. And it's really, really, it comes down to, and I love this, this is something I based on what my psychologist said to me: clarity beats chemistry. It's really like everyone's looking for chemistry in a relationship, yet that comes later on. A lot of the times those big uncertain feelings and all that's not call for a relationship. That's usually red flags, and it usually means that you're conditioned to that. So one of the big things to look at is also look at their attachment style. And before going into any relationship, and I've heard this from doing undergraduate psych, philosophy, what else? Going to different, therapy and dating coaches, learn your attachment style. You may not want to read what it says, but that is going to give you the blueprint of what you need to work on and what you need out of a relationship. And what you need and what you want are not always the same thing as well. You've got to get away from the surface metrics. And it really comes down to is the clarity, especially for neurodivergent people. It says, do I feel safe, clear, and wanted?
Yeah.
And those are boundary questions that a lot of the time we struggle with around the boundaries because of the masking. So it makes a huge difference. So yeah, I mean, I would probably put it down as to watch the behavior, understand your sensory needs. That's going to make a huge difference for the success, and also choose for the ones that give you the clarity. And if you don't have the clarity, it doesn't mean that it's the right thing. So it's not a bad thing at all.
Yeah.
And it's really about part of it as well with finding the right relationships. It's about safety.
Yeah.
You don't want to be put into a position where you're not safe. And really, it comes down to my favorite quote from Camus is that, especially with autistic people like myself, is that we put a tremendous amount of effort into appearing to be normal with masking. And you don't want to be with a partner where you have to perform for them. You want someone who is going to, and it's not just accept all the behavior, it's more accepting who you are, what you stand for, your values. And it's why part of it is that you need to write a list of what you're looking for. Every detail matters, and it doesn't have to be a big thing, but it also gives you the blueprint of where to find these people. Now, I found Jo through the Autism Network. No, like in the autism community. And why? Because I wrote a plan, and it's like what sort of a person I'm looking for. And it's like, and as luck happens, I managed to find someone through that community. I wouldn't have found someone like Joe going to a nightclub. Because what you're doing is you're doing what a UX person does, and you're creating a persona, and the persona is of the type of person you want, and it's going to give you an indication of where this person could be.
So true.
It's the best advice I was given. It's like, because it's like, okay, so I'm interested in all of these things. So where is this person going to be? So if I'm interested in reading and autism and, Warhammer and eating, like, where are these? Where is this person going to be? I'm not going to find it within certain verticals. And it's really, I love this quote. It's something I put up ages ago, and it's the guy who wrote The Little Prince, and his point is that it's around, it's around the same direction, and part of the correction thing is that it's understanding what you need, making a bit of a list, understanding your empathy and connection type, and putting that all together. But in summary, I would probably say be explicit. That's going to keep you safe, and it's also going to get you to sort out the people who are the tire kickers. And it also reduces the misunderstanding, because if someone's not going to accept autism on a date, chances are they're not going to accept autism as in a relationship. Have downtime for burnout. That's probably the other big one, is that if someone's not going to respect that boundary, that you need downtime, relationship's never going to work. This goes across the board, is be aware of masking. Masking takes a very, very, very long time to happen, and this is not just neurodivergent, this is neurotypical as well. We play roles in society, and part of it's having a sense of self. And that's why I say the 60 to 80% partner is the best, because it's going to challenge that, and it's also going to allow you to unmask. Also, the other big one, understand empathy differences. Empathy with a lot of neurotypicals, they see it as feelings. Neurodivergent, and there's a stack of research by McGeer and Kennett that our empathy is on logic. So look at those actions, and it's not that we're deficient, we're just different. And it's like you need someone who's going to understand that. So that's probably all the big brain dump today.
That's really good. It is all very valid information, because we do connect in different ways, and we've got our strengths and obviously our weaknesses. But I think that the biggest point that you made was about the boundaries and being safe, and recognizing early on what you need and what is good for you as well. Because it can be very confusing, dating, and knowing, I suppose, where to start first inside yourself, knowing what it is that you want, and the things that you're hoping to get out of a relationship, some of the things that you're interested in, and also having that sort of that kind of checklist, so that you can check in with yourself about, these are the things that I enjoy, and these are the kind of things that I would be sort of flexible on. Just helps to have a bit more, I suppose, not just clarity, but a plan, and then giving you something to work from, instead of feeling like you're just going out there blindly and overwhelmed by all the different things that you need to think of or what have you. So no, I think that's all really valuable information and advice, and just a little almost like a little internal dialogue of, okay, how to move to the next step, or when you would be ready to move to the next step potentially. You know, have I been able to have this conversation with this person about my neurodivergence and my needs, and some of the things that may or may not work for me in terms of situations, places, people, things, and then how they've reciprocated to that. So, okay, if that's say checkbox 1, and that's gone well, I can now start to feel another level of comfort, and then potentially I can explore another checkbox. But just knowing what those checkboxes are internally is going to demystify, I suppose, some of that learning and some of that early engagement, so that you can comfortably and with an informed mind and heart move towards what is going to be a relationship that would be compatible, or that would be worth exploring based on your own needs, principles, and lifestyle. So I think that's amazing.
Yeah, it's really funny. It's because it's like a lot of the rule books, it's like it's a bit counterfactual. And what I found is that when I got back into the dating world, is that the advice given was really bad and really confusing. And so if you have a look at some of the dating advice, especially on YouTube, and especially aimed at a lot of young men, it's not only really toxic, but it's also really damaging to the group around them. It's not good advice. And the thing was that I was kind of lucky that I had that lens from studying psychology, and I was questioning it. But there were some things that it's damaging for so many people. And it's also more damaging. The bad advice also is damaging for yourself, because it doesn't get you what you want. It just moves you further from the goal. Because it's quite easy to get a date. To find a partner, it's very, very hard.
Yeah. Well, you could get a partner, but not necessarily the right one that's going to be good for you.
No, you're 100% right with that. It's like that is part of the problem, is that you break it down from that point of view, and it's like you need the right advice, and a lot of them are not. It's all around churn and hookup culture, which is not really ever going to get what you want. And especially if you're looking for like a long-term relationship, it's like, a lot of them are teaching you, go out, get what you want, and you have all this stuff, but they don't actually tell you the responsibility that you have.
Yeah.
So they don't tell you, well, a partner is looking for certain skills and traits as well. It's like, do you match them?
Yeah.
And it's also looking at the kind of the deeper conversations as well, around like, if you don't have a plan, it's like, how do you go put yourself in the right positions? And one of the best things I found was like writing down a list.
Yeah.
I wrote a massive list of stuff that I wanted. It was just a 1 page, and then I kind of reformed it, and I worked out that I created a persona, and it was a lot easier. It was like, what I wanted was never going to be on the dating apps.
Yeah.
And also working with dating apps, I can tell you for a fact that they're not going to get you what you want. They're deliberately built to keep you on the platform, because you are the product. And if you find someone, they've got to replace you and a person, unless you're cheating on it and but the end result is it's not the right conditioning agent.
Yeah, so true. And another thing that really resonated with me was in the very beginning of the slides, was just about how we've been preconditioned by our past relationships in a lot of circumstances. And so for people who have tried dating or tried to have like relationships in the past before having gone through this process where one is understanding yourself, what that attachment style is, two, what it is that you're looking for and what you need, things that you like and things that you enjoy doing in your life, to then sort of really understand the type of partner that you're looking for, so that you do have that that better, I suppose, engagement and attachment style that is better suited to each other for an actual functional relationship. People have found that they end up in something that's, they realize that person's not their person through different behaviors that they tolerated when they shouldn't have, different, I suppose, ways that the relationship ended up panning out, like they never got to spend time together, or that person never wanted to do those things that they wanted to do, and so then they ended up spending a lot of time apart. So there are people who have tried and it hasn't gone well, or there are people who haven't tried because they're scared of it not going well. So through walking through this process, it's really important because it gives you a better picture to understand yourself first, so that way you can then understand the person that you're looking for and what those traits are, and then bringing those together IRL, in real life.
And you're right as well. And the only other one I would probably add to it is many people don't understand the difference between values and just surface level crap. Like when you're looking for a partner, it's like one of the things that I found very quickly, and this was dating the wrong people, is that they were saying, oh, my value is that I want to date someone, I want a husband who earns $250,000 a year. That is not a value. No, it's good having someone who has an income, but that's not a value in itself, because money is very fleeting. And it's like, what happens if that person is on $250,000 a year as a lawyer? Something happens and they become unemployed, and that can happen. It's so where does it actually leave? Where does it actually leave the value? Do you just say, well, they're not earning that anymore, so I'll find someone else?
Yeah.
Because it places both people in a really bad position. And it's one of the key things that the dating coach said, is that the key problem is that people don't understand the difference between values. And it's like, when you're writing the list, ask yourself, is this a value?
Yeah.
So like, someone earning a high income earner tends to also have choices as well, and some of them will exercise it. So they may not, if you're looking for someone in that capacity, they may not be, loyal to you as a partner. They will, and you've got to take that in. You've also got to look on the factors. How do they see family and money set up? Like, how do they value money, or how do they value a family setup? That's going to be a huge difference. Like, and especially so if a common one as well, I actually, funnily enough, ran into someone who I worked with ages ago. She's ADHD, lawyer, frickin' awesome. But one of the things that she brought up to me was like family setup. It's like, well, a lot of it's not spoken about. So the impression is that, oh, this guy works and then suddenly give up, one of you has to give up something to keep the other one. That's not a good value to have. So no, it's just interesting. It's like, ask yourself about values. Those are way more important, and then they're consistent, and it shows you the quality of the person.
So the way that I like to think of that is sort of going, all right, well, these are the things that are important to me in the partner that I'm looking for, and then sort of going, but why? Why is that important? What does that contribute into how I want to feel, how does that make me feel? So, you know, for example, for that lady, you would say, you know, I want someone who earns X amount of money because I want to feel safe, secure, looked after, you know, and then that way you can get deeper and kind of go, okay, well, why do I need to feel safe, secure, you know, etc. And perhaps it's like, okay, well, perhaps you are insecure about money, you've not been able to hold a job, or perhaps you've had different things happen. So really what they're looking for is they're looking for someone that makes them feel safe, or they're looking for some level of, I suppose, protection, or someone who is really good with finances. So then if you boil that down a little bit more, then perhaps like there's all of these other elements and traits that they're actually looking for, but the end result was the finances. And it's really by getting granular on what the underlying core thing is that you're truly going to work out what it is that you're looking for, and what is going to be something that is going to really, I suppose, speak to the type of person that you would get along really well with, and that you would have that good chemistry, because they would understand, you know, the value of family, you know, that if that's something that's important to you, that you family comes first, for example, and that you want to build a family, or that you value working a lot, perhaps you enjoy your job and you enjoy having your hobby and your career, and you're not willing to give that up. Someone that understands that your career is important to you and that would be supportive of that. So there's all of these different things, but first start with obviously writing down what's important, writing down your values, and then investigating that a little bit. So
yeah, and it tells you where these people are. It's like the thing that I was actually really surprised, and it's the weird thing was that as a UX designer, the first thing you do is you write down, you do a lean canvas, or you do a Valprop canvas, and you work out what are the pain and gain points, what are the products or values, and then you go, okay, so who is going to buy these? And that tells you where your product is. Yet it's not applied to dating, which for me, being 40 at the time, I'm just like, how did I not know this? It's so simple. Like it's really, really simple. And a lot of the time you'll write down a really big list and you'll go, this is exactly what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
This is probably where it's going to be. And you also do another really cool thing, is you also filter out a bunch of people who are wasting your time. So you're going to get there a lot quicker. And the other really interesting thing is that a lot of the time with dating, it's not just about finding a relationship, it's about finding a community. Now, there was a few people who I ended up dating, and we never kind of went any further than that. We just realized, hey, we're really awesome friends. And they've been awesome friends. Like one of them recently has just gotten married, and another one has recently just had a baby. So it's not, don't look at it like, oh, this person I like, but they're not a partner. Don't look at them as like, oh, I have to basically burn a bridge. They become a really good social network, because you can actually help each other get through things, have another
dimension to
friend.
look at things from.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing, and it's actually a really good thing, and a lot of people are seeking that connection. It's like that's going to help you. And imagine inadvertently finding some really good friends dating, and then you can all group up like with your partners, and it's not uncomfortable. It's just it's just the way things tend to go. And it gives you also another lens as well, and they can give you some really good feedback.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess to close off today's session, the aim of the game is to keep it light, go in with a plan, and to to not be afraid to, I suppose, meet people and, that take your time to understand, I suppose, where they're at and where you're at, what you want, and that even if it doesn't work out to eventuate into something compatible or romantic, that, yeah, you don't have to burn that bridge. They can be an ally, they can be a friend, they can be a part of your community, and you never know, they might even end up introducing you to someone else inadvertently. But it's all a learning process. It doesn't happen overnight, in most cases, but there's a lot of learning to take through the process. And at the end of the day, we're here to support you however we can through our Neuro community. We're constantly building new arms and new safe spaces and places for you to come and meet new people. So keep showing up, keep turning up, keep doing the work, and eventually something will land. So that's
absolutely. The only other thing I'd probably say as well is that even my dating coach said most people find their partners through their social connections.
Yeah.
They basically meet up with a group of people and someone sets someone up, or you find a mutual interest and it develops from there.
Yeah.
That's kind of part of the reason why you don't look at like a partner as an outcome. You just look at it steps going up towards what you want, and it's not going to be a straight line. A lot of the times it's like reconnection and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, that was definitely my adventure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, love that. Amazing. All right. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in. Really appreciate you being here for this live. If anybody has any questions, you're always welcome to send them through to carolina@carapr.com.au or mail@neuroawesome.com.au. That concludes our conversation about dating signals for today. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. Have a fabulous weekend. Stay safe and take care of each other. Thank you for being awesome. Thank you, Seamus, for leading us through that little workshop. And that's all from us. Till next time.
Cool. Thanks, guys.